Welcome back, viewers. You're watching WION World is One. This is World DNA, the show that gets you ahead of the rest. I'm Shivan Chandna.
And I'm Diksha Bisla, and coming up on the show today, full hostilities have resumed between the United States and Iran as the already fragile ceasefire now seems to be over, while Donald Trump still insists that the Iranians are keen on making a deal. While Iran denies having any such talks, and Iranian projectiles are now targeting US bases in the Gulf. We're going to get you all the details on the show today. Stay tuned.
There's more news coming in from the similar region. An Indian Sailors Union now says that at least 2 Indian seafarers have died, and one is reported missing still after an attack on an oil tanker with 24 Indian sailors. This was by US forces in the Gulf of Oman. The move prompted the Indian government to summon a senior US diplomat. We'll track the developments as they're coming in even now. Let's start with the headlines first.
US military says it has completed a new wave of strikes on Iran, targeting surveillance, communications and air defense sites. CENTCOM says the strikes it targets it viewed as threats to United States forces and commercial shipping in the region.
Iranian media says Tehran, in a wave of drone attacks, targeted the US Fifth Fleet in Bahrain after US strikes on Iranian territory. Bahrain issues an air raid alert, urging people to seek shelter. Reports claim targets in Bahrain and Kuwait also hit.
We'll see what happens with the deal. We were really close to a deal, but they keep tapping us along. They keep playing us for suckers.
Second straight day of US attacks on Iran follows Trump's criticism that Iranian negotiators are delaying talks and playing the administration for suckers. Says US has been close to a peace deal but warns of further attacks.
Iran's military command says that it will target any ship attempting to transit the Strait of Hormuz after it strikes 2 vessels in the area. Iranian media say the military declared the strait completely closed, while US military denies this claim.
A sailors' union says 2 Indian seafarers have died and 1 reported missing after US forces target their vessels off the coast of Oman. The Indian government had earlier said that 3 sailors were missing and summoned the US chargé d'affaires to register protest.
Israeli envoy to the UN condemns Colombian president's remarks at UNSC, which drew comparisons to Nazism, following a row over his social media post that read Heil Hitler. Dannon says Gustavo Petro should be ashamed of his remarks.
Canada proposes Digital Safety Act banning social media accounts for under 16s and requiring AI chatbots to limit harmful content. The move places Canada among countries tightening social media rules over child safety concerns.
Farmers clash with police in Bolivian capital while demanding the end of President Rodrigo Paz's government, and this is amid civil unrest in the country. Violence breaks out when protesters try to enter the Plaza Murillo, where the government is based.
US inflation climbed to 4.2% in May, its highest level in 3 years, as energy prices surged amid the Iran conflict. Trump dismissed concerns, saying he loves the inflation, drawing fierce criticism from Democrats ahead of midterm elections.
Iran's Revolutionary Guards say they have struck military bases in Kuwait and Bahrain, and this is in response to the latest US strikes on Iran.
Iranian media citing the IRGC reported that during 2 waves of operations, 18 key US military targets were hit at Ali Al Salem and Ahmed Al Jaber air bases in Kuwait. The IRGC also claimed to have struck Sheikh Issa Air Base in Bahrain, following reports in Iranian media that the US 5th Fleet headquarters in the country had also come under attack.
Well, the US military has said that it has completed its latest wave of strikes against Iran. In a statement, the US Central Command said that its forces targeted Iranian military surveillance capabilities, communication systems, and air defense sites across Iran. Earlier, Iranian media reported explosions across the country's south near the Strait of Hormuz.
The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Navy announced that the waterway would remain closed until further notice, citing what it described as repeated ceasefire violations by American forces. According to Iranian media citing IRGC, 2 vessels attempting to transit Hormuz were hit, and this after warning that any ship passing through the strategic waterway could be targeted. CENTCOM said no US ships were struck, while adding that commercial ships have also continued to transit in and out of the waterway.
Well, the latest US attack came after President Donald Trump said that Iran would be hit hard as he accused Tehran of taking too long to make a deal to end the war.
They should sign their deal. It's a good deal. It doesn't give them the right to have a nuclear weapon. In fact, it totally prohibits them from ever having a nuclear weapon. And it was just tap, tap, tap. I don't know what they're doing.
Well, in response to Trump's comments, Iran's President Masoud Pezeshkian said that Iran will stand firm against any pressure or threat.
All right, to discuss this further with us, we're now being joined by Bill Roggio. He's a senior fellow at Foundation for Defense of Democracies and editor of FTD's Long War Journal. He's joining us from Medford in the US. Mr. Roggio, thanks so much for making time for us. Let's start right off. This ceasefire, which even US President now says is the worst ceasefire ever had between any 2 countries or nations. US still carries out attacks and says now our attacks are completed. Is there still a sense that they want to retain whatever is left of that ceasefire and they're not keen on a full escalation? Over to you.
Yeah, this is one of the few things I would agree with the president on since this war began, at least in the messaging, that this has been the worst ceasefire I've ever witnessed. The ceasefire, which began in April 23rd, it was supposed to reopen the Strait of Hormuz in exchange for the end of strikes on Iran. Neither of those things have happened. The U.S. has been striking Iran regularly because the Iranians continue to close the strait and continue to attack U.S. forces as well as neighboring countries. So this, as far as the strikes go, Trump's inclination since the ceasefire began in mid-April, or towards the end of April, is to strike and then pause and then try and reinitiate negotiations with the Iranians, and that's been his modus operandi. But then there are reports that he's been very frustrated. You've seen this in his response in the press over the last several days. It's very clear he's unhappy with the Iranian response. So it's really difficult to know where this is, but the strikes are, even since the ceasefire began, or even over the last couple of days, have yet to reach the intensity of strikes that began when this operation began on February 28th and ended on April 23rd. Daily, both the U.S. and Israel were heavily targeting Iran's its military industrial capability, and as well as leadership and other military targets. So we're not seeing that level of military operations from the U.S. so far.
Right, Mr. Roggio, and while the frustration and the kind of pressure that President Trump is under is quite apparent, what we also have is now, Iran, which is threatened to target all vessels transiting through the Strait of Hormuz. And now, have we reached that point in this conflict where we can actually start talking about Tehran being able to disrupt the waterway for a longer period of time? Has that emerged as a real possibility based on the trajectory of the conflict so far?
Yeah, we were already witnessing Iran shutting down the strait. Now, the Trump administration, President Trump himself said that We've recently escorted 22 ships through the strait in the dead of night. Why did they have to do that at the dead of night? Because they're worried about the daytime. 22 ships, that's impressive, but keep in mind the regular traffic through the Strait of Hormuz, I believe the number is somewhere around 140 ships were transiting the Strait of Hormuz daily. We're lucky to get, 4 to 5 ships out a day, and, celebrating 22 ships, that's not quite the win that President Trump thinks it is. The Iranians have successfully shut down the Strait of Hormuz. That's why oil prices are high. That's why the world economy is taking a hit. The Iranians, and keep in mind, they don't have to actually hit things. All they have to do is threaten to put mines in the water. Occasionally strike the ship. And that's it. That's all. And that's what they've been doing.
Mr. Roggio, is the US after Iranian oil? Because there was a startling claim by the US president.
No, this is absurd. This is where President Trump just speaks too much at times. They are seizing the Iranian ships, and what they're doing with that oil is quite unclear. But the seizure of Iranian assets, this has been going on for some time. There's billions upon billions of dollars of Iranian assets. The same claims of seizing oil, we heard this during the Iraq oil war. The U.S. never seized a barrel of oil. And ironically, we heard this in Afghanistan as well, which it isn't even an oil-producing country. And yet that war somehow was about oil. That's a trope that is oft-repeated, but very often never realized.
Mr. Roggio, if I were to just counter that, they've often compared what they wanted to do in Iran with what they did in Venezuela. And after Nicolas Maduro was captured, they took control of Venezuelan oil. Largely, there are US interests there. That comparison was drawn, but Iran is not Venezuela, which US soon found out, and so did Israel. Given that, and the fact that US president is saying we're taking millions of barrels of oil, even if you take that with a lot of salt, you still feel there is no interest in Iranian oil?
I mean, there's interest in getting that oil on the market and getting that out to reduce the prices. But the U.S. isn't going after Iran's capacity, oil. We're not looking to establish U.S. companies in Iran to create oil. The oil is being, the U.S. isn't taking the oil at no cost. The oil is being put back on the international market. So this is one of President Trump's many missteps. In speaking about this, he's not speaking about it in terms that are grounded in reality in this case.
Right, Mr. Roggio, and despite the fighting, we also understand that back-channel talks are continuing, reportedly with Qatar here. And now, is there any viable diplomatic, off-ramp in your assessment, or, any particular concessions which could actually bring the two sides back to the negotiating table at this point?
Yeah, I do think there is a path. Look, first of all, I don't think both sides, their demands are unrealistic to each side. The U.S. wants Iran to end its nuclear program, stop its production of missiles, and stop support for the Shia militias. But the Iranians aren't going to do this because this is the backbone of its exporting its Islamic revolution throughout the Middle East. To have the nuclear shield, to use the proxies, which are the vanguard for their Islamic revolution. The Iranians, to surrender that would be essentially surrendering its whole reason for existence, the Iranian regime, that being. Now, that said, this conflict there is a suboptimal solution. It would be a suboptimal solution for the U.S., but if President Trump wants the Strait of Hormuz reopened, and if he's pressured to do so by allies and by Middle Eastern countries, because I think they're tiring of having their countries come under attack, the Saudis, the UAE, the Qataris, they all want stability. And so an off-ramp here could be that the U.S. ends its blockade of the Iranian coast in exchange for a complete reopening of the Strait of Hormuz and no Iranian claims. Again, that would be suboptimal. That would still leave the nuclear and the proxy issue open, but you could get an end of the fighting that way and then deal with those issues later.
And that would imply US taking the first step back, and that essentially goes in Iran's favor, given their geographical advantage they have to the Strait of Hormuz, purely out of their location. Bill Roggio, thanks so much for joining us here on the show. I believe it's the first time you're interacting. Look forward to speaking with you again.
Yes, look forward. Thank you very much.
All right, and moving on, and Indian Sailors Union says at least 2 Indian seafarers have died and 1 reported missing after an attack on an oil tanker by US forces.
The Indian government had earlier said that 3 sailors are missing after the attack off the coast of Oman. Now, according to Manoj Yadav, General Secretary of Forward Seamen's Union of India, the casualties happened after an attack on MT Setabelo, a tanker sanctioned by the US for Iran leaks. There were 24 Indian crew members on that vessel who were on board. 21 of them were rescued, 3 were shared as missing, and now we're hearing of this input coming in.
Well, the US military confirmed the attack, saying its forces disabled a Palau flag tanker in the Gulf of Oman for violating the ongoing blockade and attempting to transport oil from Iran. It said that an American aircraft fired precision munitions into the ship's engine room after the crew repeatedly failed to comply with directions from American forces.
Well, this comes just a day after 24 Indian seafarers were rescued from the US-sanctioned tanker Marivex off the Oman coast. On the 8th of June, US CENTCOM had claimed responsibility for an attack on the Marivex. It said that US forces fired a precision munition from USS Abraham Lincoln after the crew allegedly failed to comply with directions.
In a statement, India's Ministry of External Affairs has termed the attacks deeply worrisome and has linked it to the West Asia conflict. The MEA has also asked for immediate de-escalation of tensions.
Well, Indian authorities summoned the US Charge d'Affaires Jason Meeks to register the protest amid growing concern over escalating attacks on shipping in the volatile region.
And for more on this, our Assistant Editor for Foreign Affairs, Siddhant Sibbal, is joining us on the phone line from New Delhi. Siddhant, what can you tell us?
Well, it is a situation that is at a point of dangerous escalation in West Asia. And India, of course, getting impacted. India has, in fact, overnight at the UN said that when it comes to the situation in West Asia, this needs de-escalation, but also pointed out to an important element, the safety and security of its seafarers. In fact, the Indian ambassador said that India is firmly opposed to any attacks on merchant shipping, as many of the Indian nationals are part of the global workforce. And we have seen that out of the 3 missing, 2 have been confirmed dead. Of course, India is angry over it. The U.S. diplomat was summoned. The CDA was summoned. The U.S. ambassador, Sergio Gore, is currently not in the country. He is in Kazakhstan. And we know, as you have already pointed out, the second such incident in matter of 2 or 3 days. Now, India will be worried over the future situation as well. Many of Indian ships are in the region, and many Indian sailors are on board. In fact, both the vessels were not Indian vessels, but it had Indian crew. And in this case, this incident which has happened in the last 24 hours, 21 Indian nationals have been rescued. The big focus, of course, for the Indian side will be not only safety and security of its sailors, but also its diaspora as well. Since the conflict started on 28th of February, we know that many Indian nationals in the region have also died, and that, of course, worries India. India has a large diaspora in the region.
Siddhant, thanks so much for those updates. There will be more. Would get the updates from you as they come in. Lebanon has claimed that Israeli airstrikes have killed 12 people in the country's southern region.
And this comes as Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu had called upon Lebanese citizens to join his country's fight against Hezbollah. Visuals showed plumes of smoke rising along the Israel-Lebanon border as Lebanon's state-run national news agency, NNA, reported Israeli strikes on more than 30 locations in southern and eastern Lebanon.
Well, this includes Tyre Deba and Der Kanun al-Nahr and 3 other towns where the Israeli Defense Forces issued evacuation warnings. It also reported an Israeli drone strike in Sidon.
The Lebanese Health Ministry said that 9 people, including a woman, were killed in Tyre Deba, while 3 others were killed in Sidon by the Israeli Defense Forces. Reports also suggest that 4 more people were killed in Der Kanun al-Nahr.
And along with this, Israeli Defense Forces detained 2 suspects for approaching their troops in southern Lebanon. In a statement, the IDF said that the suspects were transferred to Israel for further questioning.
However, municipal authorities in southern Lebanon claim that the 2 detained suspects have been released and returned home. Lebanese national media said that the 2 individuals have been working to pump water when an Israeli patrol stopped them and took them to an unknown location.
Meanwhile, Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu has called for peace with Lebanese citizens. Netanyahu said that Israel is at war with Hezbollah and not with Lebanese residents. Furthermore, he also urged Lebanese people to join Israel's fight against Hezbollah.
I have a message for you, the people of Lebanon. Israel is not at war with you. We're at war with Hezbollah, that has taken your country hostage, that does Iran's bidding, that uses your territory to launch terrorist attacks against Israel. Israel wants peace with you. Seize your future. Join Israel. Build safety and prosperity for all of our children. And once Hezbollah is dismantled, the possibilities are endless, and they are sky high.
Furthermore, hundreds rallied in support of Iran and its allies in southern suburbs of Beirut. Protesters could be seen holding images of Iranian leaders, including the current supreme leader, Ayatollah Mujtaba Khamenei, and his father and predecessor, Ali Khamenei.
Well, demonstrators also held images of deceased Hezbollah chief Hassan Nasrallah and pictures of their relatives killed in the Israeli strikes. Protesters went on to chant slogans in support of Iran and Hezbollah.
We came to this protest in Beirut's southern suburbs to show solidarity with the Hezbollah resistance and to send a message that we remain steadfast and unafraid of weapons and aircraft. We will prevail through the efforts of the resistance, God willing.
From the heart of the southern suburb and from everywhere, we will fight Israel and the United States with our bare nails in defense of our existence, our dignity, our humanity, and Islam. We are fighting the great Satan, the United States, and Israel.
Microsoft co-founder and billionaire Bill Gates appeared before the House Oversight Committee and testified over his relationship with late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein.
Well, in his opening remarks, Gates said that he had no indication that Epstein was in fact engaged in criminal conduct. He also denied visiting Epstein's island, ranch, or his Florida home. He told lawmakers that he was introduced to Epstein in 2011 by people he trusted in his professional and philanthropic work. Further, he accepted the introduction because Epstein claimed he could raise billions of dollars for global health projects. Gates also expressed regret, saying he should have never met Epstein.
Now, according to House Representative Robert Garcia, Gates was cooperative in answering the committee's questions. He also provided information about other individuals connected to Epstein. Listen to this.
So far, Mr. Gates has been cooperative in answering our questions. We have said we want to talk to anyone. We don't care if they're a Republican, Democrat, how wealthy they are. If they have information about Mr. Epstein, we want to speak with them. Mr. Gates has discussed and provided us information about other folks that were in Mr. Epstein's orbit, which we want to discuss with.
Garcia also said that the committee is seeking testimony from additional witnesses as part of the probe, including Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche. According to Garcia, the committee's chairman, James Comer, has agreed to bring in Todd Blanche.
Earlier today, Chairman Comer noted that he was willing to bring in Todd Blanche, the nominee for Attorney General, in front of the Oversight Committee. This is a request that our entire committee made to Chairman Comer a couple of weeks ago.
The Epstein files include a 2013 draft email in which Epstein appeared to suggest that he had helped Gates manage the fallout from an extramarital affair, including by seeking antibiotics after a sexually transmitted infection. Gates has called the email fake and denied the allegations.
All right, this is for viewers in India that the 2026 FIFA World Cup will be live on United Sports and digital streaming app Z5 from June 11th to July 19th.
All 104 matches will be live exclusively on United Sports channels and Z5.
All right, viewers, this is World DNA. There's more coming up after a short break. We'll leave you with images making headlines and capturing attention all over the world. Stay with us.
In-depth coverage of global issues broken down into facts, figures, and simple words. Backed with analysis from field experts who truly matter, because we believe in decoding the real picture for you. So you get a much wider and deeper understanding of stories from around the world, a 360-degree analysis. An award-winning documentary series, week after week creating the maximum impact. Watch WION Wide Angle at these times on WION. World is One.
In West Asia, every move shifts the world's balance. Wars, ceasefires, alliances, power never stands still. From Tehran to Tel Aviv, from Damascus to Doha, the West Asia Post cuts through the chaos to reveal the region that shapes the world. Because what happens in West Asia never stays in West Asia. This is the West Asia Post, the region's story, the world's impact.
Welcome back, viewers. You're watching World DNA with Deeksha. I'm Shivan. Let's start with the headlines at this hour.
Donald Trump tells Fox News Iranian leaders contacted him asking to stop airstrikes as US forces launched 49 Tomahawk missiles in the latest attack. He warns of further bombing if Iran rejects US terms. Iran's IRGC denies making any contact.
US military says that it has completed a new wave of strikes on Iran targeting surveillance, communications and air defense sites. CENTCOM says the strikes hit targets it viewed as threats to US forces and commercial shipping in the region.
Iranian media says Tehran in a wave of drone attacks target the US 5th Fleet in Bahrain after US strikes on Iranian territory. Bahrain issues an air raid alert urging people to seek shelter. Reports claim targets in Bahrain and Kuwait also hit.
We'll see what happens with the deal. We were really close to a deal, but they keep tapping us along. They keep playing us for suckers.
Second straight day of US attacks on Iran follows Trump's criticism that Iranian negotiators are delaying talks and playing the administration for suckers. He says US has been close to a peace deal, but warns of further attacks.
A sailors' union says 2 Indian seafarers have died and 1 reported missing after US forces target their vessel off the coast of Oman. The Indian government had earlier said that 3 sailors were missing and summoned the US Chargé d'Affaires to register protest.
Israeli envoy to the UN condemns Colombian president's remarks at UNSC, which drew comparisons to Nazism, following a row over his social media post that read Heil Hitler. Dannon says Gustavo Petro should be ashamed of his remarks.
Police in Northern Ireland used water cannon to disperse crowds for a second night of unrest linked to stabbing in Belfast. Authorities blame far-right activists for fueling tensions online.
Pope Leo blesses the new tower at Barcelona's Sagrada Familia Basilica after celebrating Mass inside the world's tallest church. The ceremony featured 600-member choir and was attended by Spanish leaders.
US Treasury says customs authorities refunded $22 billion in tariffs last month after Supreme Court struck down Trump's global tariffs. The administration is appealing the decision while pursuing new import duties through other legal channels. Well, Russia has signed a military pact with Afghanistan.
And this is while the development marks a striking reversal in relations between the two countries. It could, in fact, prove to be an unsettling deal for none other than Islamabad. Once Taliban's closest ally, Pakistan now shares a shaky relationship with Afghanistan as the ties between the two sides have deteriorated sharply in recent years amid repeated border clashes, violence and airstrikes.
Despite the fact that its contents remain undisclosed, the Memorandum of Understanding on Security Cooperation signed by the Taliban and Russia, it has generated considerable discussion. It raises important questions about its implications for Afghanistan's future security, foreign policy and international standing.
Russian Security Council Secretary Sergei Shoigu has also urged Western nations to unfreeze sanctions on the Taliban and fully acknowledge their full responsibility for their 20-year presence in Afghanistan. Russia had already taken a major step towards legitimizing the Taliban in 2025.
Pakistan has repeatedly accused the Taliban of sheltering anti-Pakistan elements, while Kabul has criticized Islamabad's military actions along the border. The ties hit rock bottom earlier this year.
After Kabul accused Islamabad of carrying out deadly airstrikes on Afghan territory that killed at least 400 people, Pakistan denied targeting civilians and said it was attacking militant infrastructure linked to the Tehreek-e-Taliban in Pakistan.
But for India, the growing closeness between Russia and the Taliban could bring strategic advantages. And this as India traditionally maintains strong ties with Russia while also reopening channels with the Taliban in recent years to protect its regional interests and investments in Afghanistan.
Taliban Foreign Minister Amir Khan Muttaqi even visited India last year. The development may also help India's long-term ambitions of improving connectivity with Central Asia through Afghanistan while bypassing Pakistan.
Just a few days back, India strongly condemned Pakistan at the United Nations Security Council for denying transit access to Afghan traders. Speaking at the UNSC, India's ambassador to the UN, Parvathaneni Harish, called Pakistan's denial of transit access to Afghan traders as an unprecedented trade and transit terrorism. He added that Pakistan is weaponizing Afghanistan's trade and transit vulnerabilities. Listen to this.
The cynical closure of access for this landlocked country is in total violation of UN declarations on landlocked developing countries and a clear weaponization of their trade and transit vulnerabilities. This blatant Pakistani violation of WTO norms and of the UN Charter and international law should be condemned by the global community.
And meanwhile, India is continuing its efforts to aid Afghanistan's health sector. In the latest, India has gifted medical equipment for diagnosis and treatment, including neonatal and pediatric care devices, ventilators, patient monitors, and specialized medical kits, among other things, to Afghan health authorities. The move reaffirms India's strong commitment to Afghanistan, its health sector, and its people. Prime Minister Modi reached a historic milestone as India's longest continuously serving elected Prime Minister. He said that he considers it his supreme privilege to have had the opportunity to serve the country. Listen to this.
इस राजनीतिक यात्रा में अनेक उतार चढ़ाव देखते हुए एक दिन ये पड़ाव भी आएगा, मैंने कभी सोचा नहीं था। निर्वाचित प्रधानमंत्री के रूप में निरंतर सबसे लंबी अवधि तक सेवा करने का अवसर, इसे मैं अपना परम सौभाग्य मानता हूं।
Earlier, the Union Cabinet had applauded him with the standing ovation.
West Bengal Chief Minister Suvendu Adhikari was even seen serving the popular Bengali snack jhalmuri to Prime Minister Modi in a celebratory NDA meeting.
A chorus of congratulatory messages also poured in from world leaders marking the occasion. US President Donald Trump called Prime Minister Modi a strong, healthy and wise man and noted he has years of greatness and success ahead of him. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, in her congratulatory message, she highlighted the recently launched special strategic partnership. Bhutan Prime Minister Tshering Tobgay, he offered one of the most personal tributes in a 4-page letter titled "My Friend, My Brother, My Mentor." Similarly, Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed Ali called him a strong voice for the global south. While Kenyan President William Ruto said the milestone reflected the confidence that Indians have placed in him. Many countries like Sri Lanka, Maldives, Malaysia, South Korea, Nigeria also took this opportunity to reaffirm their ties with India.
But PM Modi surpassed Jawaharlal Nehru's record of 4,398 days in a tenure of over 12 years. Former Prime Minister Indira Gandhi also served for more than 14 years in office, but her tenure was interrupted by a loss in the 1977 general elections.
Imagine a giant water staircase capable of lifting some of the world's largest river vessels and doubling cargo traffic.
Well, that's exactly what China is attempting to undertake on one of its most important waterways. Beijing has begun construction of an enormous $11.4 billion engineering project near the Three Gorges Dam on the Yangtze River. The project, expected to take 112 months, or that's roughly about 9.3 years, to complete, will build a new 6,680 meter long two-way, five-stage ship lock system.
These giant locks, often called water elevators, lift and lower vessels through different water levels, allowing ships to pass through a dam efficiently. The initiative has now incorporated into China's 15th five-year plan for 2026 to 2030 and forms a key part of Beijing's strategy to strengthen domestic connectivity and support long-term economic growth. And the urgency is reportedly clear.
Well, the Three Gorges Dam, which stretches across Asia's longest river, has reportedly improved navigation since its construction, and that success has reportedly fueled industrial growth along the Yangtze's 6,300-kilometer route, linking major economic centers such as Chongqing, Wuhan, Nanjing, and Shanghai.
Well, the Yangtze River is the world's busiest and largest inland waterway by cargo throughout and traffic volume. It handles over 4.2 billion tons of cargo annually, but that success has reportedly created a new problem.
Well, the existing system is reportedly designed to handle 100 million tons of cargo annually, a limit that was reportedly crossed in 2011. By 2025, cargo throughout had surged to 173 million tons, placing enormous pressure on facilities that opened in 2003. China now wants to future-proof the river. Once the new system becomes operational, 10,000-ton class vessels will reportedly move through the dam more efficiently. Annual cargo capacity is expected to jump to 336 million tons, almost double the current levels, while reducing transportation costs for manufacturers and traders.
Well, this project reflects China's larger economic strategy.
The existing Three Gorges ship lock is designed for 3,000-ton single vessels and 10,000-ton fleets. The new channel differs significantly in that it is designed for direct dam passage of 10,000-ton single vessels.
Connecting coastal manufacturing hubs with central and western provinces through faster, cheaper and more efficient logistics. The Yangtze River is already China's economic lifeline and Beijing's latest mega project. It aims to make the lifeline even stronger.
Well, oceans have many secrets. The deep ocean, it remains a dynamic ecosystem of which 95% remains a mystery to us even now.
Time and again, the deep water reveals its mysteries. And now, for the first time, face to face with one of the Mediterranean's rarest predators, an adult great white shark. Our next story brings you all the details. Take a look.
The ocean never truly gives up its secrets. For centuries, sailors whispered about monsters beneath the waves, creatures that appeared for moments, then vanished into the blue. Scientists searched, divers waited, cameras scanned the depths. Yet some predators remained almost mythical. Then, in the waters between Sicily and Tunisia, something emerged from the darkness. More than 40 meters below the surface, a team of divers was descending towards a shipwreck. They were removing deadly ghost nets, abandoned fishing gear that continues to trap and kill marine life long after it is discarded. And then they saw it, a massive shape, silent, powerful, unmistakable, an adult great white shark. The footage is believed to be the first underwater recording of an adult great white shark in its natural Mediterranean habitat. Scientists say encounters like this are extraordinarily rare because the species is now critically endangered in the region due to overfishing. This sighting follows recent jaw-dropping discoveries in the global deep. Explorers near the Antarctic shelf recently documented a massive 7-meter Pacific sleeper shark thriving in near-freezing waters where no apex predator was thought to exist. Alongside it, a giant bus-sized phantom jellyfish was filmed 250 meters down in the South Atlantic void. Its 10-meter velvet arms billowed like an alien spacecraft. These discoveries reveal a hidden, interconnected ecosystem of ocean monsters. The sudden appearance of a great white in the Mediterranean raises critical questions about shifting currents and altering migration routes. The ocean is active, complex, and alive. These predators are not legends. They are real. They are watching, and we are only just discovering them.
All right, and moving on, a Reuters investigation has found that the Trump family generated at least $2.3 billion from 4 crypto ventures since returning to the White House.
On the other hand, more than 1 million investors lost the equivalent amount on the other side of those trades. And this is not a coincidence, but a clear pattern. In each case, the Trumps licensed the family name rather than investing their own capital, promoted the ventures through social media and public appearances, and collected revenue as investors piled in. When prices collapsed, the family remained in profit while buyers absorbed those losses. World Liberty Financial accounted for the largest share, generating over $1.6 billion for the family. Its governance token rose to 46 cents before crashing to 6 cents, and that's an 87% collapse.
The Donald Trump meme coin generated roughly $616 million for the Trump family, while buyers lost more than $700 million. The coin has since fallen 97% from its January 2025 all-time high.
The political context matters here. A House Judiciary Committee staff report accused the president of using his office to enrich himself and his family through crypto schemes linked to foreign and corporate allies. It claimed the family's digital asset holdings. They were worth somewhere close to $11.6 billion at one point in 2025.
However, the White House has rejected accusations of wrongdoing and defended Trump's business activities as legal and properly disclosed.
Trump's crypto gains exceeded Coinbase's $2.1 billion in income over the same period, surpassing major miners, ETF operators, and stablecoin issuers combined. Experts said each venture could have been established for less than $1 million in startup costs. The family's $2.3 billion gain came almost entirely from licensing fees and revenue sharing, not capital at risk. Zero risk, maximum reward, and that's the Trump crypto playbook.
There was no appetite for that, but that didn't. My community embraced my father unlike anything.
And more than half of Americans surveyed in a new Reuters Ipsos poll fear that artificial intelligence could put them or someone in their household out of work.
Well, the survey also found growing concern about the rapid adoption of AI across the economy. The poll of more than 4,500 US adults found that while 53% of respondents worried about AI replacing their jobs, 37% said that they were not worried at all, while the remainder were unsure or did not answer.
The findings come as companies continue to invest heavily in AI, with some firms linking job cuts to their AI strategies. Last month, software company Intuit announced plans to cut 17% of its global workforce as it shifts resources towards key AI investments. Meta Pink slipped 8,000 employees in April as it readied itself for the AI era. Concerns about AI extend beyond employment. The technology's potential for misuse for political propaganda and warfare has prompted warnings from political leaders and religious figures as well. Last month, Pope Leo XIV called for stronger controls on AI.
The poll found concerns about AI were higher among Democrats than Republicans. 61% of Democrats said that they fear AI could threaten jobs in their households, compared with 47% of Republicans. The survey also found that college graduates were more likely to use AI regularly than people without university degrees.
Overall, 73% of Americans said that they were concerned about the increased use of AI, up from 68% in a similar Reuters Ipsos poll conducted in 2023.
Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo will feature at football's greatest stage for one last time, where both will play the FIFA World Cup for a record-extending 6th time.
While Messi has fulfilled his destiny by winning the World Cup with Argentina, there is a lot riding for Ronaldo's legacy. For almost 2 decades, these two have ruled football and defined the sport. They have raised the bar for individual players, and both are undoubtedly one of the greatest players of all time.
Both the Argentine captains seemingly ended the Messi versus Ronaldo debate 4 years back in Qatar by guiding his team to the title and thereby completing the set. However, Ronaldo is still desperate for the biggest prize in the sport.
In terms of their World Cup record, Messi stands out with more goals and appearances as well as titles. Both made their World Cup debuts in 2006, but it is Messi who has gone on and had the better World Cup career. And it is his record at the sport's biggest stage that is probably the distinguishing factor in the Messi versus Ronaldo debate. Messi has more goals, more assists and appearances at the World Cup.
While both Messi and Ronaldo continue to be captains of their respective national teams, Messi is guaranteed to start if he's fit, but the same cannot be said of Ronaldo. The 41-year-old Ronaldo isn't guaranteed to start as Portugal have an extremely strong squad, but he remains an inspiration to the squad.
Our captain sets an example in our day-to-day lives. Day-to-day means 24 hours giving it your all to improve and help the national team. I don't think the captain or any of the national team players are thinking about the future. Nobody knows what the future holds. In football, there are injuries, there are different situations, there are decisions that are out of your hands. So the focus is on training today, being the best in training, grasping the concepts, putting them into practice tomorrow, showing the pride of wearing the Portugal shirt.
And as the United States gears up to celebrate its 250th birthday, the U.S. Postal Service has tapped a legend of American fashion to help mark the milestone.
The USPS officially debuted American Icons, a collection of 13 commemorative forever stamps curated entirely by designer Ralph Lauren. The collaboration is historic because it marks the first time the Postal Service has ever invited a single individual to curate a complete official stamp issuance. The statement from Ralph Lauren said, and I'm quoting here, "I love America, and these images symbolize the many ideals and aspirations that bind us together. They are the icons of our country, authentic, timeless, and passed down through generations. And they reflect the dream of a better life that has always inspired me." The collection features 12 individual photographs drawn from Lauren's personal archives and inspiration surrounding the 13th centerpiece stamp. Each image was chosen to reflect core national ideals like freedom, opportunity, and the pursuit of happiness.
Well, the celebration extends beyond standard mail to accompany the stamp release. Ralph Lauren debuted a limited edition commemorative capsule collection available globally. The fashion line reimagines the 2026 US flag stamp into the brand's iconic American flag sweater, alongside a classic polo shirt and a ball cap.
Well, that's all we had for you on World DNA today. But before we slip into a very short break, it's just a reminder to our viewers in India that the 2026 FIFA World Cup will be live on United Sports and digital streaming app ZEE5 from June 11th to July 19th.
All 104 matches will be live exclusively on United Sports channels and ZEE5. For all your football action in this World Cup, log on to these platforms only.
Get the latest updates.
Destroy their
Breaking
missiles
news.
and raise their...
Credible, clear, continuous. Experts across aisles. Diverse voices, one platform. WION World is one.
The Israeli drone is above our heads all the time in Lebanon. Around 169 buildings have been totally reduced to rubble. Every time there's a warning, they just come to this public area where there are around 200 tents, and they reside for a while, and then they go back to their home. Some of the Lebanese people enjoying their time, celebrating, singing, dancing, and some others forcibly displaced. From the southern suburb of Beirut, I'm Radi Francis for WION The World is One.
In West Asia, every move shifts the world's balance. Wars, ceasefires, alliances, power never stands still. From Tehran to Tel Aviv, from Damascus to Doha, the West Asia Post cuts through the chaos to reveal the region that shapes the world. Because what happens in West Asia never stays in West Asia. This is the West Asia Post, the region's story, the world's impact.
It's turned out to be the most successful World Cup from the standpoint of what's happening.
The FIFA World Cup is being co-hosted by the United States, Canada, and Mexico and kicks off on June 11th. For the first time in history, the tournament expands to 48 teams, playing a record 104 matches.
26 FIFA World Cup only on WION.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION, World is One.
Where darkness hides behind every corner. Where the truth is stranger than fiction. A show that dives deep into the stories which shock and mystify. Unsolved murders. Psychopaths who defy explanation. International war crimes. And millions swindled in financial fraud. The victims, the accused, and the sinister plot. Prime Crime is your front row seat to darkness.
Thanks for staying with us. You're watching WION World is One. I'm Adhya Juneja and this is Speed News. Let's start with all the stories making headlines today. 22 countries, including the United States and European nations, jointly warned Iran to stop attacking people on their soil. Iran's security services were condemned for their deplorable use of international and local criminal gangs for plots in Europe, North America, and Australia. The countries also accused Iran of being behind a campaign of attacks across Europe, targeting Jewish communities, Iranian journalists, and US journalists that were claimed by Iran-linked group Harakat Ashab al-Yamin al-Islamiyah. The US military has said it has completed its latest wave of strikes against Iran. In a statement, the US Central Command said its forces targeted Iranian military surveillance capabilities, communication systems and air defense sites across Iran. Earlier, Iranian media reported explosions across the country's south near the Strait of Hormuz. Iran's Revolutionary Guards say they have struck military bases in Kuwait and Bahrain in response to the latest US strikes. Iranian media, citing the IRGC, reported that during 2 waves of operations, 18 key US military targets were hit at Ali al-Salim and Ahmad al-Jaber air bases in Kuwait, while the IRGC also claimed to have struck Sheikh Issa air base in Bahrain. Earlier, Iranian media reported that Iran had launched an attack on the US 5th Fleet headquarters in Bahrain. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Navy announced that the waterway would remain closed until further notice, citing what it described as repeated ceasefire violations by American forces. According to Iranian media citing IRGC, 2 vessels attempting to transit Hormuz were hit after warning that any ship passing through the strategic waterway could be targeted. CENTCOM said no US ships were struck, while adding that commercial ships also continue to transit in and out of the waterway. The latest US attack came after President Donald Trump said Iran would be hit hard, as he accused Iran of taking too long to make a deal to end the war. US President Donald Trump accused Iran of taking too long to negotiate a peace deal, which we just told you, and warned that the US will hit the country very hard if a deal is not finalized. Well, Trump said, and I quote, "We were really close to a deal, but they keep tapping us along. They keep playing us for suckers."